Okay, guys, time for another installment of Life After Housewives. Who's on the docket today? That would be Sheree Whitfield. Now, we all know Sheree has had a career covered in scandals, many scandals, but she always seems to bounce back every time. In fact, she's only one in a handful of women that have managed to come back as a full-time housewife twice. And if you're asking, how did she manage to do that? Well, let's go ahead and look at the whole story. Sheree Whitfield was born Sheree Fuller in the upscale community of Shaker Heights, Ohio on January 2nd, 1970. Sheree and her siblings were raised by their single mother. Although she was born in an upper-class community, that didn't mean that her childhood was without problems. At just the age of 15, Sheree became pregnant with her first daughter, Tiara. She has been quoted as saying that being a teenage mother was absolutely tough. But she had a great support system with her mom and her brother. Despite having a great support system, Sheree continued to have her teenage angst. It has been widely reported that on May 13, 1989, she was arrested in Cuyahoga County for shoplifting out of a Saks Fifth Avenue. 3 months later, she was arrested again for shoplifting. During this same time, there was also a hit-and-run charge on her record. All 3 charges have since been expunged from her records, considering this was so early in her life. In the late 90s, Sheree became good friends with a football player named Bob Whitfield, who had played for the Atlanta Falcons. Sheree said the two started out really good friends, then things changed. On July 2nd, 1996, Sheree gave birth to their son, Cairo. 3 years later, in 1999, she gave birth to the couple's daughter, Kaylee. The two got married on June 10, 2000. During their turbulent marriage, Sheree accused Bob of physical and verbal abuse. She even accused him of cheating. During this period in her life, she decided to keep her troubles with Bob from the public. However, this didn't stop her from separating from him after only 3 years of marriage. In 2007, she officially filed for divorce. That same year, she auditioned and got the job on a reality TV show, The Real Housewives of Atlanta. The new reality show premiered on October 7th, 2008, and it was an instant huge hit, ultimately becoming Bravo's #1 rated show. It featured Sheree dealing with the final stages of her divorce, where she openly told the audience that she was expecting a 7-figure divorce settlement. It also spotlighted her in the process from owning her own upscale boutique called Bella Azul. She closed it down to focus on a new business, a clothing line called She by Sheree. Sheree instantly became famous in her own right. She also became a major component of the show's success. From her one-liners like "Who gon' check me, boo?" to quarreling with on-again, off-again friend Nene Leakes, to now the infamous pulling of pal Kim Zolciak's wig, or as Sheree would like to call it, the infamous whiff shifting scene. Sheree's personality was definitely an attention grabber that had the masses talking, whether it was good or bad. She definitely was entertaining. But with the good also came the bad. Her clothing line, She by Sheree, never came to fruition. On the second season, she discovered that once Bob moved out, he stopped making payments on the mansion that she resided in with her children. She was forced to move out, and the home ultimately fell into foreclosure. Once her divorce was final, she received a lump sum of $775,000, full custody of the children, $2,142 in monthly child support, and half of Bob's retirement. Now that might seem like plenty of money to most people, but to Sheree and her lawyers, they didn't think so. So they appealed the settlement. After her settlement, Sheree brought herself a luxury Aston Martin car. She didn't enjoy it long because that same year, her lawyers sued her for failure of payment. The attorneys included the Aston Martin as a form of repayment in the lawsuit, which caused her car to be repossessed. She quickly rebounded by allowing the cameras to document her newest project. She planned on building her dream home from scratch on a large plot of land, and she was going to call it Chateau Sheree. Audience members quickly responded. Simply put, they wanted to know, where did she get the money for this multi-million-dollar project? Then, after the season 4 reunion, Sheree announced that she was leaving the show because she was tired of all the fighting and the cattiness. Other sources reported that Sheree was fired because executives was tired of her diva behavior. Whichever you believe, it doesn't change the fact that Sheree was no longer a housewife. After Housewives, rumor began to circulate almost immediately that Sheree was in serious financial trouble. It was reported that she was hit with tax liens for 09, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016. Then Sheree herself revealed that Bob hadn't paid a single dime in child support. The couple even went on the popular TV show Iyanla Fix My Life to see if they can open up the lines of communication, but nothing helped, so the couple headed back to court. This time, Sheree received a lump sum of $75,000 plus $1,000 per month over the course of a year before going back to the original designated payments. It was a small victory for Sheree and her children, but that didn't stop bloggers from reporting details as to what was going on with Chateau Sheree. They would report on how Sheree was allegedly not paying contractors, liens on her home, and the status on her permits. This angered Sheree and led her to make the unusual move of suing several high-profile bloggers. She accused them of stalking her and sued them for criminal trespassing. Eventually, the case was thrown out of court, but Sheree was criticized by fans for making what some would call a dirty move. In 2015, she launched a fitness brand called Shape by Sheree, but many people were confused as to what the product was. They weren't sure if it was a line of fitness gear or a training program. Later that same year, it was announced that Sheree would be returning to season 8 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Fans were surprised yet delighted. This time around, Sheree was much more open about her shortcomings. She even tried to rekindle a relationship with Bob, but when Bob refused to admit to his past physical abuse, Sheree decided to tell the camera the truth, that yes, Bob was physically abusive to her and that he even choked her. After several months, Bob issued a public apology to Sheree, but it was too little too late, and their relationship fizzled out for a second time. On season 10, Sheree introduced the audience to two things that were very near and dear to her heart. The first thing would be her new inmate boyfriend, Tyrone Gilliam, a felon serving a 10-year sentence for stealing over $5 million. The two would spend many hours on the phone talking about his appeal and hopes for early release. But the most important thing that season is Sheree finally got to have a housewarming party for Chateau Sheree. Sheree finally got to silence the naysayers that said that this project would never happen. Her victory was short-lived. More controversies surrounded Chateau Sheree. Right after the housewarming party, she was slapped with a $1,000 fine for a noise ordinance and not having an occupancy permit. And of course, the blogs continued to talk. This time they were saying the contractors that worked on the home were still waiting for payment, and one even sought to garnish her wages. But they were unsuccessful because they couldn't find any bank accounts tied to Sheree's name. After that, there was more bad news for Sheree. At the end of season 9, it was announced that Sheree was no longer a housewife. Reports stated that Bravo couldn't film inside or even outside the jail, and this caused a problem for her storyline. So, for a second time, Sheree was fired. And things didn't turn out too well for Tyrone either. After being reprimanded by the judge for having Sheree leave numerous voicemails and letters on his behalf, the judge said it was inappropriate. Then she denied his appeal, which meant no early release. After that, it was widely speculated that the couple had split. On October 15th, 2018, Sheree posted a video of her new She by Sheree joggers. Immediately, the creative director came out and said he wasn't paid for that video. Okay guys, let me know in the comments section, what did you think of Sheree's life after The Real Housewives of Atlanta? And who do you think should be next on Life After Housewives?